Did you know that you can have a successful for-profit business that makes a massive social impact without turning it into a nonprofit or without becoming a nonprofit? And in today's video, I really want to talk to you about how to make this happen because I do feel like, and if you know me well, you know that purpose is a huge part of what I do and what I talk about when building a brand. And for a lot of you on this channel, and those of you that listen to this podcast, you know that you are considered a purpose driven entrepreneur. I call you guys this all the time. And it's something that's really near and dear to my heart. So, first off, I want to welcome you back to the Practice Your Perfect podcast. And in our second episode, I want to talk to you all about the 5 impactful ways to make a difference with your business without starting a nonprofit. And I can't tell you guys how many times I get this question. I get it all the time. They want to start either a nonprofit and a for-profit, or they are not sure if their for-profit can be a nonprofit, or if when you talk about social entrepreneurship, they should actually become a nonprofit, or if they can just make a social impact with a for-profit. So today, I want to dispel all of those myths, and I want to talk to you guys about the 5 ways that you can make a massive, massive, massive social impact even if you are a for-profit and you don't want to start a nonprofit. In fact, I don't even, most times when people come to these calls, I tell them don't start a nonprofit because there is a lot of red tape that goes along with becoming a nonprofit. And it's really important that when you are making that decision to become one, that you're very well aware and your purpose is the entire central focus of why you're starting, as opposed to you also want to do good, but you also want to be in control of your income and how the organization runs, and not necessarily have a board that you need to report to. So those are some of the key differences. And I don't want to go too deep into that. I've got a lot of videos on that. If you are interested in starting a nonprofit, or if you are interested in understanding the differences between the two or foundations, and there's lots of information out there for you. And I've got that on my channel as well. So let's jump into this because this is honestly something that I think all for-profit businesses should be doing, finding ways to make social impact. And again, like I said, this is something that's near and dear to my heart. So I might go a little on my soapbox in this one, but I think this information will be super helpful to you in the long run. All right. So the first thing we're going to talk about is contributing to the greater good by just doing something very simple with giving back a percentage of profits. Now, this is a super easy way to be a part of social good and to do well and keep thriving in your business, while also somewhat partnering with a nonprofit or another social impact business, or just a cause that you care a lot about. That says a lot about your brand. So this way is extremely effective, okay? You just give back a percentage of your profits to an organization that basically aligns with your mission. And I think that's one of the most important pieces, right? You have to make sure that the nonprofit that you are deciding to partner with really is in alignment with what your business wants to make an impact, like for social good, right? So if you're not somebody who cares about animals or something, like it's not near and dear to your heart, then I wouldn't necessarily try to partner and make that kind of your brand's, drum that you're going to beat, right? We want to be part of something that can be integrated into what your brand does. And you can talk about it on a daily basis, and you can talk about it in your marketing. You can talk about it in your advertising. It can just be a part and woven into the structure of your business and the strategy overall. And that's what you really want to come to kind of an understanding of when you're looking to partner with any organization, really, and any other business. Does it actually align with what you're trying to do in your business? And so really think about that. That's the most important part. And also think about, does it align with my customer and what they believe in and why they support our business, right? We want to make sure that it's something that if we support it, we want our community to also support it as well, right? We want to be able to bring it into, we don't want something that's completely opposite to what they believe. we want to have something that's going to create a culture of giving inside of your business. So that's number one, give back a percentage of your profits. It's a big one. It's super helpful. And it does really focus on building your brand's reputation and your customer loyalty. So you want to make sure that you are very much in alignment and clear about what you're doing when you decide to do that. Now, the other one is to actually just partner with a nonprofit. And what this does is creates a mutually beneficial relationship, because you are also leveraging the nonprofit's audience and their, loyal followers and their loyal customers and what they believe in. You already know what that segment believes in. And if you are then aligning with that with your business, then it says a lot about your business and might be something that their audience might want to support. So that is something that's more mutually beneficial. That partnership could look like hosting events that's going to support the nonprofit. It could be something like setting up a run and the funds go to the nonprofit, but the local business is setting it up and putting in funds for the advertising, and that's their way of giving back and supporting the nonprofit. And I have always kind of dreamt of having some sort of organization that helps foster that, because I do think that it is really important for our for-profit businesses to really show that impact. A lot of times people are being asked for $250 here, $500 there, and really you don't necessarily get a lot from that, a lot of leverage. But if you partner with a pretty well-known or well-loved or well-liked nonprofit organization, it can be a lot of boost and gain from your side. And especially if it's in alignment with what you do, and you can really talk about it and build it into your brand. Like I said earlier, for just by giving a percentage, this is really taking that percentage and interest in the nonprofit just a little bit deeper. So you really want to kind of think about it, but it's a great option. And nonprofits actually love things like that, because then it's a consistent way of building that partnership and building out those funds and knowing that people are there to support what you're doing. Now, the next one is to sponsor community events. Now, community events could be anything. Like we had for the nonprofit that I run, we had someone set up an Easter egg hunt, and it was to benefit Launchpad for Kids. And it doesn't just raise funds for a good cause, but it also builds a sense of community and boosts your business's viability and visibility, right? So it shows that you are out there, you're thriving, and you're thriving so much that you are helping businesses within your community that can do more and provide social impact. So you don't necessarily have to be like coming up with the idea of what you're going to do for social impact and how you're going to create, something that's like a nonprofit. What you're really doing is just giving a platform to the nonprofit while inadvertently building up your own audience and your own visibility as well. So when I used to work in public relations, one of the big things I would always say is find a nonprofit that is doing good, that people know and that they trust and love, and find a way to partner with them or to support them or create something that's going to benefit them. And then you are then essentially gleaning some of that audience and some of that attention from that audience because they love that nonprofit so much. So that was a long-winded way to say you can sponsor community events for them as well. But it is a great way if you are not sure if you want to start your own nonprofit, but you want to really support someone that's out there and, lots of different things. Okay, so the next thing we have is to create a separate nonprofit. Now, you can do this. You can create a separate nonprofit. If you have something that is so important to you that you're like, you know what, I really want to, sorry about the camera shaking here. I really want to create something that's not available right now. I don't see any sort of nonprofit that's out there that actually does what I want to do or doesn't do it in a way I want to do it. And I have some extra time sitting over here that I can actually just, give to someone else. Then I would tell you, go ahead and create a separate nonprofit. However, if you decide to create a separate nonprofit, you have to understand that everything must be separate. Everything. Like there is no commingling of funds at all. You have to go through a separate process, get a separate EIN number, corporate number, everything is completely separate. So it's essentially creating two businesses. And I talk about this a lot because that's something that I actually do. I run my online marketing business, and then I also run a nonprofit. And it is a lot of work. And it is something that you, in your mind, must be split completely separate from what you have been doing and how you take in funds, and you are reporting to a board. There's a lot of things that go into that, but your for-profit can also generate income for you. And then your nonprofit can benefit from some of that income that maybe you want to give to your nonprofit to support the cause that you've decided to create. So get a ton of calls on this specific question. And I hate to turn it away because I think it's something that I'm super passionate about. And I know that I know how to set it up and how to make sure you're good on it, but it does require a lot of oversight. And that's the one thing that I want to make sure that you are clear on when we're in that call. So last thing I want to say is champion a cause. Now, champion a cause can be a lot of different, it can mean a ton of different things, right? It can mean that you are just an ambassador for that specific cause. Like, this is the thing that everybody knows you with. Like, they know that you're a part of this specific nonprofit. It's a big part of who you are. You talk about it and you share it, and you share their social media. You might, share their newsletter. It's like you have taken this on as this is my thing as you support this nonprofit, even through your for-profit business. I don't care if it comes through being a board member. You can do it as a volunteer program that you've set up. You can help support through advertising, marketing campaigns. Your cause becomes a core part of your brand identity. That cause that you choose, if you become the ambassador or decide to champion a cause, that becomes part of your core identity. So that can mean something like, we love to save animals. You could work with lots of different nonprofits that really work with that. You could talk about how you love pouring back into the community and their youth. And then you talk about all the different nonprofits that you work with, or the main one that you work with. There's so many different ways, but it just imbues a certain type of culture and branding that you can't get otherwise when you are not linked up with some sort of social impact. And so that's a way that you can add that in. So before I let you guys go, I really want to talk about a couple of things that focus on whether you should become a nonprofit or a for-profit, because it is a decision that is very tough to make. And I just have a couple of three key considerations that I would have you think about before you decide, and that would be oversight. So nonprofits require a board of directors, and they require you to have a certain level of governance. And really, you have to ask yourself, are you prepared for that? So when you have a nonprofit and you decide to pay yourself, then that's something that you have to think about. You can absolutely get paid from your nonprofit, but if you're going to do that, you always have some form of governance where people are, looking to see how much, and people will decide on your salary. They will decide on what's appropriate, what's not, there's so many things that go into that. So think about if that's something you want to do. The second thing is mission accomplishment. You have to ask yourself, can you actually achieve your social impact goals, without becoming a nonprofit? And if the answer is yes, with a for-profit model, it might be a little bit more flexible and add that flexibility in there for you, and you can still accomplish the mission. So always ask yourself that question. That's huge. And then lastly, it's sustainability. And it's one of the things that plague nonprofits all over the entire country, right? All over the world, really. It's like, how are you going to stay sustainable? Because you need to come up with different strategies of how you're going to raise funds. And it can be very different than a for-profit, because a for-profit you might be able to sustain by selling things or, through revenue just in and of itself without becoming a nonprofit. So I'm sorry, without relying on donations. So, the nonprofit model is pretty much a lot of donations and grants and, events and fundraising. Whereas if you're a for-profit business and you know how to get the revenue goals that you want and how to create that impact that you want. Most often I'm telling people to go the nonprofit route unless you really just have a charitable, contribution that you want to make to the world. But sustainability is still always one of the biggest issues. So now that I've said all of that, that is those are the different ways that you can make an impact with your for-profit. And I think that, it's great to be able to make that impact, and it's great to be able to partner, and you just really have to think about what's most important to you. There are many reasons why it would be a good idea to start a nonprofit, but if you can have your for-profit business and come alongside a nonprofit to help them thrive, to help them build, that is more than impactful and very, very helpful to a nonprofit. So you just have to find the balance that really works for you and your mission. And if you enjoyed this video, honestly, I would love it if you guys could give me a thumbs up. If you like information like this and you are practicing your way through entrepreneurship, then come join us on the Social Life newsletter. I send it out every week. We talk about things that we're practicing. I talk about a little more behind the scenes, books that I'm reading, things that might be of interest to you, tools I'm using, all of those things. So I'd love to have you there, and you can get that at ashleetate.com. And you can sign up for the tribe there. And I will talk to you guys soon. Thank you so much for watching and listening to the Practice Your Perfect podcast. I really created a mouthful with that podcast name, but we're sticking to it. So anyway, thank you so much for being here, and I will see you next week. Be sure to stay fierce and stay focused on those goals. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.